right, this is Plato Book 3, right? Just getting started. Right, so once again, we're talking about censorship in the Republic, right? And Plato wanted his guardians to be of a specific type of individuals and not to hear these frightful tales of the afterlife. Now, Plato also wants to intend to stress, right, honesty in a society, right? One thing to say, we should be honest. You can really make it difficult. People who, when they tell lies, you get caught. You make all kinds of penalties for this. We don't really do that much here in America. We allow a good deal of deception and foul play to go on, in my view, right? That doesn't benefit us at all, right? It's expensive and costs money. I've got a short paper written on that, as a matter of fact. But, right, Plato wants to really get everybody telling the truth and being honest all the time. But he has one exception for this. That's the only people that can lie are the people that are in charge, and that they lie solely for the benefit of the public, right? A good example, right, of these things are what to yell, right? To yell fire in a crowded theater. Even if there is a fire, you want to be more, right, conditioned in your exiting, right, of the room. So there are times when you may want to restrain, right, the release of information, particularly natural disasters or things like this may cause panics, right? So there are precedents for this, but Plato wants, shall we say, these individuals to have the authority to direct things for the best interest of individuals, right? And he's not going to necessarily include them on all the decision making, right? This will start to get a little bit against democratic ideas, right? It can make us a little uncomfortable. Plato is writing this, right? It's just democracy has just killed Socrates, put him to death, 20 years ago, right? Democracies for him don't make the best kind of judgments all the time. So he's going to be very critical of this form of government. And if the wise leaders think it's better to deceive us, then that's something they can do. But Plato says only if they have right moral intent, right? Now, one thing Plato doesn't like is what we call imitation in literature, right? That these artists, these poets, once again we talked about earlier in the Greek society, think of these Homer, Hesiod supplying something much like the Bible, right? That you'll have them talking about rules of generalship in their poems, right? How to navigate the seas even. And you'll have people, adults, taking this advice seriously when they're out in the seas, right? Or conducting military campaigns. And Plato wants to get away from the reliance on the sweetness of words, right, for determining whether or not the words are true. Right. Well, phrase is very nice. That doesn't necessarily mean it's just an accurate phrase. Right. So Plato wants to make sure we limit the amount of imitation, right, we see in literature, right, and not let it just go ahead and make up its own rules, right? Much like American movies have conditioned how we came at torture and things like this is exactly what Plato has in mind and doesn't want to see happen. Right. Plato's also going to keep away these really excitable, once again back on the musics, right? He wants to be very careful and make sure excitable musics aren't played, things that get people worked up into mob frenzies and this kind of stuff, right? So once again, he's bigger in the arts. I'm not sure the arts have as much influence as Plato thinks they do. I think it's more talking about perhaps his own particular case, right? But in any case, he does think they have a massive influence. And I think a very good example of this, one of the things I really liked about living in Prague for 7 years, was the entire city was called the City of 1,000 Spires. It kind of pulls your eye up constantly, different spires. Then you have Prague Castle up on this huge hill, and St. Vitus Cathedral on top of that. And so the city was constantly moving your eyes upwards. Right now, in terms of Christian thought, upwards is a better life, is where heaven is, right? A better world. So Prague is a city that, by looking at it and being in it, you're always having your eyes pulled upwards. Right, it was very powerful, right? A very powerful place to live in that sense. So in that sense, I think what more Plato's getting at, right? I mean, it come out clearly in the text, is that you start to build a city in the environment in which we live that reinforces a certain way of thinking, a certain ethic, cooperation, harmony, right? Is what he's got in mind. Not that we'd hear these things for half an hour on Sundays, but that we are constantly have them reinforced with us, and we're not going to have things distract us from that. Right, so if musics are dangerous, well then they're like Elvis Presley perhaps, right? Plato would not allow him, right, to conduct concerts in his ideal society. Now this is pretty funny because this is true as well. This is what's great about this book, right? For Plato, a sure sign of a corrupt society is a proliferation of too many doctors and lawyers. And you go around America, what do you see? Doctors and lawyers everywhere, right? For him, humans are basically healthy if they eat right. We're very basically healthy creatures. So we don't need a lot of doctors. A few doctors, of course, you always have a few doctors. Someone holds down and breaks an arm, it happens. However, right, needing doctors all the time for Plato is a sign of unhealthy diet, unhealthy exercise regimes, these kind of things. So if you've got too many of those, you're not taking care of yourself. And too many lawyers, he says, is a byproduct of people disagreeing. People that are harmonious and cooperating and getting along don't need attorneys. People that are cantankerous, contentious need attorneys. And what do we see in America, right? Lots and lots of doctors and lawyers. So for Plato, we're an unhealthy society, right. All kinds of things to work on, much like Athens was at his time, right. Now there's another interesting conflict between Greek thought and contemporary thought, is that Plato thinks the purpose of medicine is to either restore you to productive health or let you go. Right, 1/3 of our Medicare and Medicaid budget spent in the last 4 months of care or something like that. We could save a lot of money by, right. And Greece is not a rich society at this time. So keeping people, who are past productive capacity alive is as feasible for them perhaps as it is for us. The Eskimos will have a tradition of, when you get too old to be productive, is you have your last meal, you invite your friends and your relatives over, and then you walk out in the cold, without your skins, without your furs, and you perish. It's your job, it's your duty. If you get too many people that are productive, live in that environment, the entire tribe can be threatened. So these harsher standards make sense when you have less resources. Not a way America likes to think, however. This is also interesting. Plato's going to bring out about how it's possible for someone who understands ethics and justice to comprehend the behavior of somebody who's behaving unjustly. It's not possible for these same individuals, a group of bandits or thugs, to comprehend the behavior, of scholars and professors. They don't get it. They cannot get it. And they cannot possibly understand it, much the way that people from a Neolithic society can understand modern technology. The unjust cannot understand, justice, but justice, you can understand why these guys are doing these kind of things. They want to get rich fast. It's understandable. It's hard to decipher. But their inability to understand, puts them in a very difficult position vis-a-vis the just. They're rejecting something without first experiencing and understanding what it is. And that is usually a mistake, And we're going to make courage for Plato, in our warrior class, by taking that aggressive side of humanity, the instincts, the bird of prey, as Bertrand Russell will say once again, that we possess, and disciplining them, turning them into courage, which he'll define, I think, brilliantly, as ability to resist pain and the promises of pleasure. Threats of pain and promises of pleasure. Too often, courage is understood just simply as resisting threats of pain. He wants to put promises of pleasure. So bribery, you're being bribed and people are paying you off with sweeties and goodies like that, that is also cowardice, for Plato. And we get these things combined. We start getting, courage and temperance, these two core values, ability to control our appetites and deal with our spirited element, our aggressive side, in a disciplined fashion. We're starting to get together the functional grounds of a character. Plato's going to go on to elaborate what other qualities we need to be a good person. But these are the basics we need. If your appetites are constantly taking command and control of your decision-making process, it's very easy to behave unjustly. The same way if your emotions are. Emotions are very powerful things. If they get out of control, we can easily do something we shouldn't be doing in regards to others and how we treat them. So we're going to try to keep those things under control so we can then focus on how to develop our minds and therefore become just people. So we're going to get our guardians, from those who show a strong loyalty and love of the state. We don't want people who are not very fond, of a society to be the ones who guard that society. They're going to have very important jobs, and as Plato will say, a city can fall, in an afternoon, one of these Bronze Age societies, so armed army come in and take it, very easily, whereas if a cobbler does his job poorly, the city will survive that without any difficulty. So the job given to the guardians, the police class, the military class, is so important that we have to make sure that they are patriotic. You don't give the keys to the battleship to just anybody. It's got to be a patriot. The only person who gets command an aircraft carrier is a patriot. We're not going to give this over to mercenaries and the like. It's the same kind of idea here, folks. And the same thing happened in the Russian Revolution. Somebody got holds of the keys to the battleship, turned the guns around, put them on the presidential palace, and took over the country. So yeah, who has the keys to the battleship is an important question. And we make sure these people are loyal, Now, one of the things Plato's got in mind for his future leadership class and his future guardian class is you're going to begin training young, and you're going to be constantly tested in terms of character, honesty, and your ethics, whether or not you take bribes, these kind of stuff, to hone out. Not that you're a bad person if you can't handle the job, just you're not in the right group. Once again, we're going to have a society divided into different classes. You're going to need somebody who's going to be assertive and take chances. If you're going to have a guardian class, for instance, an individual who is very not a risk taker should perhaps be sorted out of that, Other professions, banking, for instance, as we found out, recently in 2008, that bankers should not be risk takers. Gamblers, have another profession perhaps in society, but certainly not that of banking, So we're going to eventually divide into three general classes of Plato's society. He's going to call them the golds, silvers, and the bronzes or irons. The golds are going to be the wise elders, right, effectively, right? The silvers will be the guardian class, will be your police warrior class, and your bronzes will then be, right, your production class. 90% everybody else. Everybody else having families, doing everything else, running businesses, small businesses, kind of stuff. That's all done, right, at a different level. Plato's primarily concerned about the higher functions of the two, the golds and the silvers, when he's talking about the guardian class. And this is where we get into start breaking into three political classes but two economic classes. Right, the three political classes are the gold, silver, and the bronze. The two economic classes are those who have money and those who do not. Right, the gold and silvers, because they're in charge, are denied having any kind of families. They won't be able to pass their power on, right? You have these nepotism and difficulties like we see in favoritism, right, in societies that happen all the time, right? And they're not allowed to amass any kind of money. They're not going to have any kind of personal. They'll be paid for. All their foods will be housing provided, right? They'll have a communistic existence. Only the top 10%, right, get the communist existence. If you want power, you can't have money or a family. If you want money or a family, you can't have power, right? Plato is very interested in trying to find a way to conjoin power and morality, power and ethics. Right. A problem we still strive to deal with today. And one of the ways he thinks of doing this is to get rid of any temptations, right, from the ruling class to enrich themselves in any fashion whatsoever. A rule we don't use today, and individuals who occupy, right, high positions of power can get very, very wealthy and tend to, right, would seem to indicate, right, that's kind of difficulty Plato wants to avoid. Right, that your interests are divided. You have a conflict of interest in how you conduct yourself. I'll put an end to that. So people seeking on masses of fortunes, and the kind of people that are greedy will be not drawn to offices of power because there's none to be had there. If you're ever found with a gold ring on you or a piece of money, you're fired, you're gone. Not a bad person, you're just no longer fit for the job and return to the bronze class, right, to have a family there. But you're not a bad person, just not fit for that particular job, right, is a way to think about this stuff, right? Certain behavioral characteristics must be the case. Leadership is fundamentally, right, a moral concept, an ethical concept. You don't follow somebody because they make things worse, right? You follow them because they're going to make things better for you, right? So fundamentally, leadership is this moral concept, and Plato's building into it. And morality and ethics are things that are difficult for you to achieve. Then leadership is not a position that you should be entrusted with. It should go to other people, right, who can handle such responsibilities, right, without misbehaving.